So with Halloween now less than 2 weeks away, right now a lot of families, they're getting ready to carve some pumpkins. In fact, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission says nearly 150 million people carve pumpkins every single year. But did you know, on average, ER departments treat 3,200 Halloween-related injuries every single year, and 55% of those all relate to pumpkin carving. So that's why it is so important to use the proper tools and techniques to minimize the risk. This morning, we're joined by Dr. Jeremy Driscoll with Honor Health to talk about some of the safest ways to carve your pumpkin. I still can't believe that so many people are injured every single year by pumpkin carving.
Yeah, year after year, we see the same thing happen again, mostly related to not using the proper tools to cut the pumpkins, but every year we see a lot of Halloween-related injuries due to pumpkin carving.
So what should somebody do if they get their pumpkin? Don't use a kitchen knife, right?
That's
the first thing.
Number one rule. Do not use a kitchen knife. As convenient as it may be, these aren't designed to cut pumpkins, and most of the injuries that we see in the emergency department are related to using improper tools to cut pumpkins.
So what are some of the tools that we should be using then?
So I really recommend using those pumpkin carving kits that you can get at pretty much any grocery store or convenience store. And so these are typically like these tools right here that are designed to cut pumpkins. They're serrated, and serrated knives are really key for cutting pumpkins because the smooth ones tend to slip more, and that's how you get injured. Is you're cutting and it slips and you get your finger.
And so this one here, what is this one as well?
So this is more for a smaller detailed tool. So if you're really interested in doing designs, I'm not very good at that, but other people who want to do more elaborate designs, this tool's helpful for more getting smaller details and carving that out. A little easier to work with than a kitchen knife.
Yeah, and then they've got the spoons and everything to help you scoop things out.
Exactly. And so this is how we get out all the pumpkin insides and seeds and whatnot. And so this is what you use kind of get it out. I usually use my hand because it's a little more fun that way.
Yeah, so I heard you hammering as well over here. So is that, what is this? And I see some like designs.
Yeah, so we have these little templates here, and they're kind of have a little sharper edge, and so you can kind of use these to put into the pumpkin here, and then grab like a little hammer and kind of make out a little template. And then once you do that, then we can use one of our knives to help kind of cut out the design. Other ways is there's some paper templates out there that you can trace around and then use your knife to help cut that out. But this is a really good way to get like a really good design on your pumpkin.
Oh, so you don't have to punch it all the way through?
No, so basically we would just punch it in a little bit here, and then you can remove it. And then it'll take a little bit of a chunk out of there, and then you can use your knife, and then you can finish cutting the rest of it out there.
Oh.
So I find that easier because I'm not very talented with art, and so this makes it my pumpkins look very good for Halloween.
So, and you said that these are just available like at your basically any store.
Yeah, you can
Walmart
get it.
Targets.
Yeah, Walgreens, CVS, Target, Walmart, anywhere. They sell these everywhere. We got this kit out of Walgreens earlier today.
So, what is the most common? You said a kitchen knife, or they cut themselves with a kitchen knife. That's the most common injury.
Yeah, we tend to see a lot of lacerations or cuts, and that's typically from using improper knives. Sometimes even with the Halloween kits, we'll see when someone's distracted.
Yeah.
It's usually when we see is you're not paying attention, or you're trying to do something else at the same time, and then you'll accidentally slip and then cut your finger or hand.
And we see burns from candles and heat sources as well on there.
Yeah, exactly. And so we do see, other than lacerations or injuries related to cutting, we see sometimes fire-related injuries. And we really recommend not using candles because those are unsafe. So those LED lights like we have on one of these candles here are usually the safest, because my Halloween usually does not want to involve stop, drop, and rolling. And so we really recommend using those LED lights to help light up your pumpkins instead of a candle.
Yeah, there you can go. I mean, that is good, and it lights it up a lot better. What about people being allergic to pumpkins as well? Is that a thing?
We do see that. It's a pretty uncommon allergy, but we do see some people who are allergic to pumpkins, and so typically they might get an exposure on their skin and develop a rash from that. And so if that happens, and maybe you never knew you had a pumpkin allergy, you might develop a rash after contacting the pumpkin. And so we'd be happy to see you in the urgent care or emergency department if that's something that happens.
I would imagine you probably don't know that you have a pumpkin allergy until you got your hand, and then there you're like, oh great,
exactly.
I've got a rash now. So how do you know if somebody does need to come to the emergency room to see you, or if this is just something that they can treat at home?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, minor injuries where like you have a superficial kind of cut to the finger or hand, Usually we recommend first grabbing like a towel, paper towel, putting pressure on that for at least 10 minutes. Make sure you wait the whole time because a lot of people will just put it on for a minute, then they take it off and it starts bleeding again. Really good pressure usually takes control of bleeding for most of these cases. Now, if the injury is deeper, where you maybe sliced off a piece of your finger, or you're seeing things like bone or muscle exposed, those are all reasons to come into the emergency department because sometimes we need to evaluate those wounds. If you look at your cut after 10 minutes of pressure and it's still bleeding, that probably needs stitches. So we'd be happy to see you in either urgent care or emergency department to stitch that up. But certainly if you're having an injury where you can't move your finger anymore or it feels numb or tingly, that might be a sign of a tendon or a nerve injury, and that's something definitely to come into the ER for so we can examine that and treat it appropriately.
Doctor, good stuff. Good information. And these little kits, this is great. Said that you can get those. He got it at Walgreens earlier today. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Good
Thank you for
information.
having